Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Michael Episcope. Thanks for being on the show, Michael.
Thank you, Whitney, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, honored to have you on the show, Michael. And Michael's a principal of Origin Investments, co-chairs the investment committee, and oversees investor relations, marketing, and company operations. Michael brings 25 years of investment and risk management experience to the company and believes that calculated risk-taking in inefficient markets is the key to building wealth. Michael, welcome to the show. Tell the listeners a little more about your company, what you all focus on, and let's jump into some of your expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny when you're reading that, I hear 25. I think that's even outdated. I think it might be closer to 29 or 30 now because I started working when I was 19 years old. So I'm probably dating myself now. But as you said, I've been in kind of in the investment markets in one way or another for about 30 years. Real estate is my second career, and I started in real estate around 20 years ago, investing passively, and then founded Origin about 14 or 15 years ago with my partner. And it was really, the way I got into this business is that I built up a tremendous amount of wealth in my first career at an early age. I was 35 years old when I stepped out of the commodity trading business and wanted to put my wealth to work in real estate. And I was exposed to real estate at a very young age. My grandfather was in real estate most of his life, and I learned just a lot about it, working at his buildings in the summer. And I saw the success that it brought to him, the lifestyle that it afforded him. And it was a career that was always in the back of my mind. And that was sort of the foundation and the itch that I had to get back into the market after my commodities trading career. So it was really, when I look back, it was from 2001 to 2006, I invested passively with others, and I didn't have a great experience. The world was very different back then. You don't have this proliferation of deals on the internet and all of these different sponsors that you can find today. That was a pre-Jobs Act environment. But those experiences really led me to found Origin with my partner. And it was really because, thought I could do a better job with my own money. So I went and got a master's in real estate from DePaul University in 2006, 2007, formed Origin with my partner. And in the early years, it was, I think this is putting it nicely, but we were a family office. We had pooled our own capital. We were looking for deals together. But it was really more like two guys buying real estate. But that slowly grew as we began to kind of syndicate deals to friends and family, to our network. And that ultimately grew into our fund business. And, what still remains the same today, though, is that we use our own capital and look at our funds and our own deals, and we invest side by side with investors. And we use Origin as a way to build our wealth. And it's a distinct perspective, and I think a difference of Origin, because our primary goal has always been to seek investments that we want to invest in. And we have more than 1,600 investment partners today. That grew from 2 in 2007. And really, there was a huge, inflection point. I would call it about 2015 when we embraced the ability to market our company. And we were, 2015, we had 70 investment partners. That was at the end of Fund 2. We knew we had a great product. We knew we had a phenomenal team. And so we started marketing it. And today we have 1,600 investment partners at the firm. And our investment strategy has evolved over time, but I'll just talk about what we do today. Today, we invest only in multifamily, Class B or better, Sunbelt markets, low tax states. And we have really 3 buckets of capital. We do preferred equity. We do, I have a core plus and value add. I'll put those in the same bucket. And then we also do ground up deals. And so we acquire deals directly. We work with sponsors. But one of our main, what I'll say, advantages is that we have very flexible capital when it comes to acquiring deals. And so, our preference is to kind of swim upstream, transact off market where we can. We're generally not that competitive when great deals come to the market. So we're looking to work with sponsors, recapitalizing deals, whatever we can to get that edge in deals. And it's really about working with the same sponsors over and over, because in our market, we generally, if we're working with a sponsor, we're going to be bringing 90 to 95% of the capital to the table. And capital, that's a commodity, but good people are not. And in our business, we like to think of ourselves as a great partner. We're reasonable. We do what we say we're going to do. And when things go bad, we work together, to make sure that we can get the projects on track and get them up and going. And COVID was a great example of that. Today, we're operating two funds. One is our Income Plus fund. That's really an income-oriented fund for investors. And then we also have our QOZ fund. And there's been a tremendous amount of demand in that fund, but that's a very tax-efficient fund focused on ground-up development. In the last 6 months, as you and I were just talking about this, Whitney, we've seen a lot of demand coming into the market, but this one especially because of its tax efficiency. And we've had, more than $100 million come into that fund since, I would say, November 15th of last year. So last kind of 4.5 months. But, one thing about our kind of platform and what we focus on is that it's about tax efficiency, because every single one of our investment partners is a taxable investor. And this has become a big part of our investment strategy, in the last few years, because we used to be buy, fix, sell. And, one of the problems with that is that when you sell, you have the cash just sitting around, and most of our investors would say to us, that's great, we sold. Why didn't we hold? Why didn't, do that? And we kept getting these same comments. So today, what we're looking at is more of a buy, fix, and hold strategy where we're buying great assets. Because it's, when you have, when you pay the tax man every time you flip out of a great asset, that's just a huge tax to the investor and ultimately eats away at your returns. And all that matters in any deal is what you get to keep after paying the manager and the government. And real estate, it's incredibly tax efficient, but too many people don't take advantage of that side of the ledgers. They flip properties. And in our belief, great investments should be held forever. And that's how true wealth is really sustained and created. And so we're really proud of our firm. We are located in Chicago. We have 30 team members who all have come to Origin from other institutional areas. And we like to think of our self as an institutional platform for the individual investor.
Michael, there's so many things there I'd like to cover or like to ask you about, and a few things specifically. You mentioned 4.5 in the last 4.5 months, over $100 million has come into your fund, and not. That doesn't happen overnight, right? That happens over a long track record in history. Obviously, you mentioned 1,600 investment partners, or investors. Congratulations to you, that, because I know the work that goes in behind just building those relationships and that level of trust, with that many people and investors. And so I wanted you to just speak to that a little bit, maybe some marketing tactics or maybe ways that you're building those relationships. I'd love to get into the fund a little bit, as well eventually, but I'd love for you to highlight just maybe some of the marketing tactics. I know many of the listeners right now are, they're trying to grow their investor base, obviously, or they're trying to present themselves right as this credible, company, and so investors are attracted to them and trust them, build that level of trust, all those things that we're all trying to do. But what are some tactics that you have seen that have been crucial for you all to be able to accomplish something like that? 100 million in 4.5 months is no easy feat.
No, and that's not a normal 4.5 months. And there were a lot of stars that sort of aligned up. But I'll take you back, and this really goes back to 2015 when my partner and I just had this sort of aha moment, and it was only as a result of the Jobs Act that this is possible to actually market what we had. And if you have a great product and you put it in front of enough people, it's very simple to believe that they're going to buy it. And that was kind of our thesis in the beginning. And prior to that, the marketing department was me and my partner. And we would go out there and meet with individuals and have lunches and do things like they were doing for 80 years. And we're like, there has to be another way to do this. So we really, we rebranded the company. So we used to be called Origin Capital, and we wanted to make it more investor focused. So now we're at Origin Investments today. We rebranded our website as well, because that's sort of our front doorstep. We hired our first marketing director at that time. And then what we also did, and this is a point that I think even today, a lot of firms miss on, is we started to build our investor relations department and the customer service side of that, to make sure that any of our investors, if they have questions when they're onboarding, when they're an investor with us, they can get their questions answered. People will get back to them usually within a few hours, but absolutely within 24 hours. And that was really important to us, to make sure that leg of the stool, you can't just hit on, risk and returns, but it's also that side of the equation. And so that's how we've built a lot of goodwill. And in any environment, just being responsive to people when they email you, getting back to them, and the simple things really, really matter, because if you don't get back to people for 2 or 3 or 4 days, it's really indicative of how you run the rest of your business. So I'm proud of the team that we built today. We have 7 people. We have 1 person starting next week, but 7 people in our investor relations department to handle just everything we need, from onboarding people to servicing our existing investors, sending out reporting on time in a way that makes sense. And so that's what we, fundamentally share, my partner and I, because we've invested passively in private equity and real estate, and we've seen, how frustrating that can be without a good IR department. The other side of that is the marketing department as well. And the marketing department, we have 5 people dedicated in that department. And the overall arching theme of the marketing department is to create content for our audience, to educate them on this subject. And you will hear this come up over and over, but the number one thing that you need with content is authenticity. There is a time to promote your funds. There's a time to do things, but you have to try at all times to be a neutral party and be authentic, and not, be writing about something and then all of a sudden promote your fund within there, do something. And so those are some of the things that people really fundamentally, they look for authenticity with anybody who they're investing with. And all too often you get, these individuals who are on Instagram and doing this and showing on their, it just kind of, I don't want to go there, but, too many individuals who are pumping themselves up and have egos and things like that. And you have to cut through all that. So for us, it's been a long road. And by the way, this does not happen overnight. Building trust with investors takes a long, long, long time, and you can erode it overnight. So everything we do, especially when you are in a public forum, that if we're not always on our game and always improving, and we are doing something out there that is creating ill will, that can just go viral within our community and shut us down. So we're very vigilant about that and cognizant about, all the pieces of content, the way we behave, the products, how we market, and just making sure that there's a consistency and a continuity. But it's not inexpensive. I mean, again, I just named, we have more than 12 people dedicated to marketing and investor relations to both educate investors and then service them on that side and make sure that all their needs are being met.
Wow. So, that alone shows the importance of investor communications. Just investor relations, marketing, all those things. You have 12 people dedicated to that. Bedford's Cost Segregation specializes in generating significant tax savings via their engineering-based studies for commercial real estate clients nationwide. Founded in 2002, Bedford is one of the largest independently owned cost segregation providers in the country, with over 14,000 studies completed to date in multiple offices throughout. The most important decision ownership can make when incorporating cost segregation within their real estate portfolio is selecting the right provider. With only 43 certified cost segregation professionals nationwide, Bedford is proud to employ 8 of them and takes the quality of their people as seriously as their studies. Every certified cost segregation professional has passed a rigorous test combining knowledge of technical engineering issues, legal tax issues, ethics standards, and requires a strict level of prior work experience to be eligible. Bottom line, not all cost segregation providers are created equal. So be sure to take the decision seriously from the beginning to protect yourself for years to come. Please contact Bedford's Business Development Director, Frank Judici, to learn more. Is there some specific things that you could mention that have helped build that trust, though? I know it doesn't happen overnight, but what's been a couple key things that's, what, we did this and this just really showed investors that we cared about them, or this really helped build the trust? I know the authenticity, which is so important. I couldn't agree more. But how did you present that, or what's a couple techniques potentially that have worked well for you all?
So, if I'm looking at one tactic, it's so hard to point to it because I think you can't just have one thing that you do that's great. I will say this, that my partner and I, even getting in front of people, we have monthly webinars where we have an open forum, and we go out and we let everybody know about the performance of the fund. We don't sugarcoat anything. We open it up in a dialogue where people can email in their questions. And I think, one word that you won't find on our website anywhere is transparency, and you won't find honesty. And those things are so cliche. You have to show those things in what you do. So if you go out there and you go and research, 100 of these investment firms, you'll find those plastered all over the website. And we said, look, don't put any of those on. We're about showing, not telling. And so when we're doing webinars and people are emailing their questions in and we're answering them live, or we get in front of our investors and, in our annual events, those are opportunities for us to just be open and honest and authentic and transparent about everything we do, and owning, what things we've done right, what things we've done wrong, how we're getting better, how we're growing the firm. And it's really almost this cycle of accountability, because when you put yourself out there, you know that you're going to continue to put yourself out there, and you're telling investors that you're going to do X and Y and Z, and you're making certain promises, for lack of a better word, and you want to hold yourself to those, because we're an organization that really, we believe that you do what you say you're going to do, and it's as simple as that. But I wish I had one thing for you, but I think it's the ability for us to be available, and it's the quality of our team who we've hired. So even in our investor relations department, everybody who we hire has a real estate background, but on top of that, we put them through a very rigorous training program. And so when they call up and they're asking questions, there would be no difference between somebody talking to me and me answering the questions, and somebody in our investor relations department answering those questions. And that professionalism extends to our asset management group. It extends to our acquisition group. And we're constantly, just trying to let people know how we operate, because there's cost, right? What are you paying for? And then there's value, right? So what is the value of the fees that you're paying, and how much are you willing to pay for that service, for that? And it's really about the quality of that team, and over. But trust is one of those things that's hard to build, and it's easy, to lose it in a quick. So it happens over a long period of time doing different things. And, I'll just go back to this $100 million that we raised over the 4.5 months, because there were a few things that sort of, when I said the stars lined up, and one of them was the end of the year. And so there are some tax dates with QOZ, but number one, we were actually floating our unit price at the fourth quarter of last year. So there was a rush to get in before we floated it. And then in March of this year, this was March 31st was the deadline by which you could put 2019 capital gains to work. So those two deadlines are always important when you're raising money, that people, have a reason to actually invest. So we don't use deadlines, though, or a sense of urgency as a way to get people to act quickly without doing their due diligence. So these are things that we're communicating well in advance. And I'll say one of the challenges I see today, because there are tactics out there that work no matter what market you're in, a sense of scarcity and a sense of urgency, and people always act on those. However, when you're in an investment market, that's not what you want to be doing as an investor. You don't want to be making a split-second decision and investing. And so some of these platforms out there, what they're doing is they're setting you up on a webinar where you get to listen for 30 minutes, and then you have 2 minutes to decide whether you not want to invest. It's great for the platform, but not for the investor. And we really fundamentally believe there is not, out of the 1,600 investment partners, we are not a click to invest firm. We want our investment partners to ask 100 questions and know exactly what they are getting into, because everything is about expectations. And even if you deliver here, but their expectations were here, you have disappointed them. Right. And we don't want people learning after the fact, I should have asked that, but give them plenty of time. So that's a long-winded way of saying there's no shortcut. It's a lot of things that you have to do between setting up a phenomenal team, delivering on your track record, being available to them, and just showing consistent service and performance.
No, that's a great answer. I love that. I just love the attention to detail just around the relationship with the investor. And I think it obviously shows, just long-term commitment to them. Would you just walk through maybe the first, if somebody signs up on your website or somebody tries to reach out to as an investor, what are some of the first few things that happen with them, or, just so you're showing that level of commitment like that?
Sure. If you go to our website today, and this has sort of been an evolution, but we started, we just revamped the website recently. So you can be anonymous and you can go in there and you can download our fund documents directly. Or you can go to our website and you can actually, there's a box on there where you can actually connect with one of our investor relations personal investor relations individuals there, book a meeting in their calendar. You can connect with them right there if they're available as well, or you can just email any of them as well at investorrelations@origininvestments.com, and somebody will get back to you immediately. But we wanted to really, because there's some people who want to, talk to somebody right away. But I will say that conversations are always better when you've done your due diligence, when you've read those. And I'll say this, that there's nothing worse than somebody going to the website, not reading anything, and then taking up the time of our investor, of people in our investor relations department. Tell me about Origin. You can learn about Origin on our website. You can learn about Origin, by looking at our deck and stuff. And so it's always better, if people have taken the time to download the deck, look at the website, really understand what it is they're looking for, and then have a better conversation that's a lot more nuanced rather than something at the 50,000 foot level. So again, we believe in that customer journey. Everybody's at a different spot. Some people want to just browse and peruse, and some people are ready to talk to somebody in investor relations. But the whole process we make as simple as we possibly can, from onboarding to even investing in the funds itself. So we've streamlined the process, which can be quite daunting. I mean, if you've ever invested in private real estate, I have a wealth manager and he sends me these packages that are about this thick, and they're all tabbed out, and they're still not in the kind of 21st century today. But everything we do is done by DocuSign. So it's we have a support team there that handles all of this. We have continually tweak those documents. So if there's any areas that are confusing, right, we make it super easy and simple. And then anytime somebody wants to check on their investment, we have investment portals that they can log into and see the status of their investment. So that is, we've really embraced not only the team, but also the technology behind that to be able to service so many investors.
That is awesome, Michael. And unfortunately, we were running low on time, but it's possible I'd love to be back and talk about funds and fund management, pros and cons, things like that. If that's an option, to have you back in the near future. But a few final questions. What do you have any predictions for the real estate market over the next 6 to 12 months?
Great question. I don't do the crystal ball, thing here, and that's something I write about. And nobody has a crystal ball, and I'll take this back.
Sure.
Commodities trading day, and I was a great commodities trader, not because I knew I could see around corners, but I reacted to the market and where we were. And I would say one of the things that we're really good at is risk management, and it's all the things you do today that regardless if the market goes up, if it goes down, that you're positioned to withstand, to take advantage of the market going up and also withstand shocks if the market goes down. I can tell you that sitting here today, there's some fundamental things that are happening that are a little concerning. 10-year is now up to around 170. Borrowing rates have gone up to 3.5. Cap rates have come down to 4. So you don't have much positive leverage. You still have a healthy spread between cap rates and the 10-year treasury, which is the risk-free rate relative to the risk asset. So that is trading right around historical averages, but it's real estate is generally a levered asset. So if you're borrowing at 3.5 and you have a 4% cap rate, you need a tremendous amount of growth in these markets to make that asset work. So that's a little bit concerning because you're just not getting the cash flow from the assets that you used to, which is can be a significant portion of the return. So you have to be in either the value add sector where you're creating more value in the project or ground up development, which we're engaging a lot in today.
Yeah, I'd love to get more into that, maybe in another show. But Michael, any daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve this success?
Daily habit, I think my DNA, I'm really kind of obsessed with risk management. And that's one thing that's carried me through both my last career and this career. So I would say it's borderline obsession, just thinking about risk, because in our business and really any investment business is if you take care of the downside, the upside takes care of itself. And so you have to make sure that you're positioned well in the right assets, the right markets, that you've taken care of the downside. You're not using too much leverage. Even within our firm, making sure that our people are happy, that we have the right people in the right seats, that we have the infrastructure, that we can pay for these people, even if we, if the lights go out like they did in COVID for a while. So it's risk management all the way from, the assets themselves through the firm and the way we run it. And I think that's something that my partner and I really share together. So it's fun to, talk about the strategy of the company and the deals and things like that. But that's something that, on a daily basis, I'm thinking about.
How do you like to give back?
So giving back, on a personal level, I do as well. And in the last year, COVID, we actually had a program where we chose 3 charities when COVID hit, because it was an awful time, and there was a lot of people who were really hurting. And we're an investment firm, and it almost feels wrong to be making money, during a period when there's so many people who are suffering. So what we did is we donated for a period of time our admin fees. So when people were coming in, to three different charities: Feeding America, Doctors Without Borders, and I believe the other one was Rubicon. So we donated about $70,000 during that period to those 3, and just helping out people in need. But that's something that is, my partner and I strongly believe in. He's incredibly philanthropic, and he's pulled me into an organization that he co-founded, which is 1 Million Degrees, which is now going national, an amazing organization that we've both been a part of, but he's really been the brains behind that organization. And that's really focused on the community college level and helping students out. So it's fantastic to see how that's helped transform and change lives. But many charities my wife and I give to as well. So it feels good to give back, and we're fortunate to be able to.
Awesome. Well, Michael, it's been a pleasure just to get to know you and hear more about your story. From your grandfather's real estate to now, growing your own investment business and doing extremely well. 100 million in 4.5 months, like we said, did not just happen overnight. That's many years of relationship building. And you've obviously spent the time and energy and built the team to manage that well. And just the thinking through, having a dozen people just on the marketing, investor relations, and, showing just the need to take care of investors well. It's just great for the listeners and I to hear. Like I said, I'd love to have you back and us talk about, your fund and fund management and some of those things, hopefully in the future. But for now, how can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Well, our website, origininvestments.com, they can go there. They can connect with anybody from investor relations. I'm always available as well. My email is michael@origininvestments.com. You can email me. I'll put you in touch with the right person out there. Happy to connect, talk real estate, talk about Origin and whatever.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.